Hey everyone, what's up? My name is DeVegas49 and this is my video on Kingdom Hearts 3 and what I would like to expect in it, expect for the Kingdom Hearts series in the near future. So, first I would like to start off with saying how much I do love this game, even though there are many things that I do feel that could have been improved upon. I do greatly love and appreciate the direction it's gone, and I also feel that it was a great idea for them to switch from whatever engine that they were trying to come up with. I think what it was the Luminous engine to the Unreal Engine 4, as it brought out the best in what this game had to offer in terms of exploration, in terms of gameplay, in terms of combat. I absolutely do appreciate it. Now, this video isn't necessarily about any of that because that's going to be a whole separate thing. This is mostly going to be about what I would like to see going forward. And if anyone agrees, that's perfectly fine. If they disagree, that's also fine. But this is mainly just an idea that I was thinking about. Now, the outcry for Final Fantasy characters being within Kingdom Hearts 3 was actually pretty huge prior to and after the release of the game, because Kingdom Hearts is pretty much Final Fantasy and Disney like thrown into a blender together, and this is what we had. And Final Fantasy characters have been involved with the series from the very beginning, with Cloud, Leon, Sid, Yuffie, and pretty much just those ones. And it was kind of a blow. I kind of really realized that they were still kind of being phased out anyway, but it was still a blow for a lot of fans for them to not be in this. And now, thankfully, with the DLC coming out in January, this we actually are going to be getting them to be a part of the story, at least part of the end part of the story or whatever. But going forward, I actually would like to see more Final Fantasy characters included in the Kingdom Hearts series, even if just to just be like in short pieces. Like, let me go ahead and explain that. We see how some of the Final Fantasy characters that we have interact with some of the other Disney characters in just some of the original worlds, such as Twilight Town and the Radiant Garden and the Destiny Islands. It would be interesting to see a couple of the Final Fantasy characters and what they bring to the table be included in some of the actual Disney worlds. Like, I don't know, randomly seeing somebody in Frozen, or seeing a Final Fantasy character just hanging around in San Francisco. That's what I'm talking about. Kind of like how we originally were introduced to Cloud and Sephiroth and even Zack in the Olympus Coliseum way back in Kingdom Hearts 1. And Zack was also in the Olympus Coliseum, but he was in it in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's just more of the interaction between original characters, Final Fantasy characters, and Disney characters, and more so to just see some of those Final Fantasy characters in the Disney worlds even more. Oh yeah, and Auron was also in the Olympus Coliseum in Kingdom Hearts 2. But you see where I'm going with this. it's I completely understand that there's an original story going on here, and pretty much the settings of the Final Fantasy worlds and the Kingdom and the Disney worlds are pretty much just background in a way. They are kind of being used to help push the story forward a little bit, or at least give us a little bit of some filler time. But it would actually be nice to see those occur a little bit more because of the simple fact that Kingdom Hearts really is the love child of Disney and Final Fantasy. And it can definitely be a lot natural. It can definitely be very natural versus any other kind of situation where people just randomly would add characters in their game from a whole different franchise and we're just supposed to believe that. But it's right there. The blueprint is right there, is all I'm saying. Like, World of Final Fantasy, I would like to say, is an example of what I would want to use of how we've seen them just throw. And if you haven't played World of Final Fantasy, I think you really should, because it is actually, it looks very cute and it may look childish, but it is true to Final Fantasy fashion, as any other game is. Death is a very huge subject. Summons and everything, and there's just a whole lot of lore behind it that could really be explored if there's enough demand for it, because it's actually worth it. But in World of Final Fantasy, they do take various elements. There's a whole original world created, and they just take various elements, including some of the characters and things related to those characters, and just merge them into that world itself and make it feel as natural as possible, like they belong in that world. So it would make sense if the effort is put in to have characters like Kimahri from Final Fantasy X or Ruffia from Final Fantasy III naturally living in Arendelle, or to have freaking Angus from Final Fantasy III living in Corona, or to have, heck, to have characters from Final Fantasy 13 hanging out in San Francisco, to have characters from Final Fantasy 6 Setzer or Balthier hanging out in the freaking Caribbean with Jack Sparrow, or kind of just being rivals to Jack Sparrow. But you see where I'm getting with this. This would actually help with adding these Disney worlds in, and kind of just giving us something that's a little bit different from them having to follow a script of the series, of the original film. Because that was actually one of my gripes with Kingdom Hearts going in, and Kingdom Hearts 3 actually just made it even more abundantly clear that the scripts, like the original story from the films, kind of don't fit anymore, or they kind of just feel like they're just filling in the pieces, but it feels so unnatural. Especially if you've seen the film, you can notice, or even if you haven't seen the film, but you can notice, like, wow, this was really, like, the story of that was really empty. Like, you have a lot going on with your main game, and I understand that, but it was just like they could have just not even bothered with trying to integrate the story from the films into the game itself. Like, for example, they already did step away from it with Olympus, so it wasn't really much of a issue to me that they kept going a little bit veering off the original, where they just almost completely veered off the path and then got there. But when it came to Frozen and Tangled and again Pirates of the Caribbean, where they really were integrating the story from those films into the game, it really was noticeable. And they kind of just glossed over various plot points, and then we see them get wrapped up, but we don't see how they got wrapped up or how they occurred in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, if you've seen the movie, who you know exactly who. Okay, for example, with Pirates of the Caribbean, you know exactly who Cutler Beckett is, and you know who Davy Jones is, and you know how Jack gets captured by them. You know how Will Turner gets captured by them, but you don't see that occur. Like, they randomly show you a scene that happens afterwards, but they don't show you the lead up to that scene. I'm not saying that they have to focus specifically on that the whole time, but it would have been better to either give it a little bit more attention or not give it any attention at all. And I feel like from this point forward, when you include Disney Worlds, it's better to just go ahead and take a more original route with it, and go ahead and throw some Final Fantasy characters up in it as well, and just make it interesting like that. Make something new and original out of that, because you don't see that interaction often. You've only seen it maybe a couple of times with one world or the other, but it would be interesting to see it at every world that exists. And considering that they were already just deciding, let's make an original thing going on with some of the worlds that they decided to include in, like Monsters Inc. and Big Hero 6 and Toy Story, how they just decided they weren't going to have the stories from the films, but more so go on a original route and just say, oh, this was kind of set after the film. Alright, cool. Now just go ahead and throw throw a Final Fantasy character up in there, because there's a pretty large selection from multiple games. Go ahead and commit to that, is all I'm saying. And if anyone thinks that would be cool, yeah, to just keep throwing more Final Fantasy characters in and having them interacting with Disney characters even more, and us just getting to witness that through the main characters of the story, great. And my next question would be, who do you think, who would you actually like to see pop up in future Kingdom Hearts games, alongside of the ones that we've already seen, or beyond, or even if we don't ever see the ones who have already shown up in a previous Kingdom Hearts game already? Who else would you like to see pop up in a Kingdom Hearts series, even if it's just to have a very minor role? And let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, and have a great day.